Korynn Dickey. She's the daughter of an Iowa state senator, and she's gone viral over talking about how she is basically disowning her father after he attacked the right to choose. Makes a lot of sense. Let's go straight into this because she jumped on TikTok and she said this. I had to cut my dad off. See, I'm a bisexual Pisces, and he's a Republican state senator who contributed to taking my rights as a woman away and the possibility of me being able to marry the girl of my dreams one day. And that was posted on Tuesday, and internet sleuths, of course, jumped right on it and said, we can figure out who your father is, an Iowa state senator. Let's see, what's your name? Her father, his name is Adrian Dickey. Probably took about 7 to 10 seconds worth of these sleuths to work. And he's obviously now also a candidate for Iowa State Senate District 44, as you see there. He was one of 60 legislators who urged the Iowa Supreme Court to overturn the 2018 Planned Parenthood versus Reynolds ruling, which affirmed abortion as a constitutional right in that state. Korynn later posted some follow-up TikToks since everyone was paying attention. She's like, sure, I have more to say. This is what she said next. Yeah, I'm cutting my dad off for good this time. Of course, I still want a dad, but I have cut him off before and nothing has changed. I'm done hoping for change when it's never gonna happen. I mean, it's doing more what Democrats are thinking. Every time they see something go wrong, they go, let's try that again, and tell them we're gonna work on it better. So in another TikTok, she also revealed that she came out to her father as bisexual, as she mentioned off the top, and then when he supported a ban on trans athletes in sports. She told the Daily Dot via Instagram direct message that she came out as bisexual to her dad during the bill's passing because she wasn't okay with what was happening, and he essentially just dismissed her. She said her relationship with her father made her develop post-traumatic stress disorder and said he was abusive while she was growing up. When she was a teenager, she refused to speak to her father. She says, it was purely no contact out of fear, is what she wrote. She says she let him back into her life in March of 2020, but then her dad took office in January of 2021. When he was elected, I was told to keep my mouth shut. I did because at the end of the day, I really hoped he had changed. When Roe v. Wade decision came to light, I voiced my concerns and he silenced them. There's so much more money and power-driven things he's done. I will likely make more TikToks on them. So she's looking to expose him completely. Now, as a matter when we just mentioned how she said, yo, I had to distance myself from him when I was younger. I didn't speak to him, and then I came back around. I was hoping for some changes. It's consistent to this cycle of not sure if the person who's probably supposed to be the biggest protector of yours, person who understands who you are and accepts you the most. Just imagine the many folks, young folks, who've had to deal with being detached from their parents, and what seems like maybe their parents kick them out of the house or disowning them, but sometimes the person has to take care of themselves as well, and it leads to this stat here. LGBTQ youth who felt high social support from their family reported attempting suicide at less than half the rate of those who felt low or moderate social support. So we talk about those numbers, and then many times we'll just ignore them and say, I believe in every life is precious, except for the ones that are ended and are depressed and sometimes even end up on the streets and dead just because their parents didn't accept them and just dismissed them as this guy did.
Okay, so guys, we live in two different worlds, right? Because I guarantee you that guy's having a conversation with his friends and other parts of the family going, man, can you believe how the liberals corrupted my daughter? Now she doesn't even listen to us anymore, and she doesn't even hate gay people. And now she says she's bisexual. God damn it, they corrupted her, man. Otherwise, she would have been just like us, and she would have known that gay people are bad, and they shouldn't have the same rights as us, and you certainly shouldn't be gay. And then they got her thinking that she should have rights and that she should control her own body. Goddamn libs, man, they corrupted her. That's why we gotta change the education system. They're genuinely having that conversation, and they really mean it. And so whereas we look at it and go, can you believe how terrible the dad is? That he prioritizes hating other people or owning the libs over his own daughter. Over his own daughter. I don't know how we're ever gonna get back together. We live in two different realities, and they're not that close to one another at all, at all. So Caroline, I don't know if you got any thoughts on this. We got a poll. We're gonna ask people, would you cut off a family member who voted against the right to an abortion? Just focusing on that one issue, yes or no. Caroline, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, my dad. It's a conservative Republican. Just want to say thank God I did not have a TikTok or social media wasn't really around. But I think, I think that this dynamic is, it really is a tale as old as time when you think about it. You know, people for centuries have been talking about the youth rebelling against their parents. So I think in that sense, it's something that you can focus on. What I like to focus on is, when you're young and you're really fiery and passionate about a lot of different political issues, it's really easy for the first thing when you're not sort of getting your way is to think about cutting people off, cutting people out of your life. And of course, if there's like abuse and trauma and things like that, like that's a very real solution. Luckily for me, that was not the case. But as this TikToker mentions, like it's really difficult when you are young and not economically independent. And I think for people like this, for young people, what I would say is that like your feelings are totally valid about these tensions, but this is actually where like organizing principles really are founded on these dynamics. And it's a really great place, again, if you are in the like mental health space to do something like this. This is where you sharpen your arguments at home. I mean, I'm like literally here today right now because I, through my childhood and adolescence was like really figuring out how to talk to people that I loved that were just so diametrically opposed to my opinions and beliefs. And so I think that there is a good space to be able to practice these things, practice these conversations, practice these dynamics, because they're not going to go away. And a young woman like this can very well grow up to be like such an incredible leader that we need in states like Iowa, especially, who can have these conversations with people that they care about and convince them with like the facts and the logic and the changing nature of our society. So that's what I'd kind of have to say. And I think this it speaks really well to this younger generation of how they are handling really, really difficult political conversations. So I just encourage like leaning into those conversations when you can, and you'll be amazed at like how far your courage will take you in this world.
This could seem like it's a new age thing, right? And maybe the reasons behind it, when a kid comes forward like this and can expose their parents when it comes to this, there's this exposure to the world that kids have, and I call her kid, but younger folks have that maybe older generations didn't. Especially when it comes to parents. I've always said things like, oh, the kids are gonna be okay, because they actually have an approach and actually a courage that many others didn't, because there was such an isolated, narrow-minded approach if your parents were like that, where you don't get to see other folks or understand that this isn't normal. So what people like this, and specifically conservatives that wanna make sure kids are bottled up and have the same hateful beliefs that they do, they have to try and keep them from knowledge. And it's impossible now, the lid's off. There's access to so much information that at any point you have no idea. Your kids walking to school and they're checking out general news and knowing what's going on. We talk about kids that have been watching our show since they were 14 years old. I was like, man, I would have never been watching this show at 14 years old when I was 14. But it's a different type of mindset and energy. And these folks that are trying to keep their kids corralled in this stupidity and bigotry, it's not gonna work anymore. And that's the battles that they're gonna keep having. She said, I'm gonna keep on doing this, by the way.
Yeah, look, I don't know how to vote on the poll, to be honest. Because on the one hand, what I would do is I would talk my parents into oblivion, okay? And by the way, tyt.com/polls, and we'll have the link down below if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook later. And so I would ask them and say, okay, so why do you think gay people should have less rights? Why do you think, and I would throw everything I got at them. But if it got to a point where they're like, no, I just think gay people are immoral and they shouldn't have the same rights as we do. I don't know, man. Yeah, at some point you either gotta wall that off in some way or say, yeah, I can't do this anymore. And it's, I mean, we both think that our position, the opposite position is immoral. They think gay people existing, let alone, I mean, I hate that saying when they're like, hey, look, hate the sinner, love the sin, or the opposite, sorry. No, that's the Vegas thing, I got it mixed up. Okay, love the sinner, hate the sin. Well, it ain't a goddamn sin. It isn't a sin. It isn't a sin. You're wrong. And we think your position is deeply immoral to say, oh, and if you want to use religious terms, God created you this way. And so, but if you do act that way that God created you, we're gonna hate on you and we're gonna give you less rights. No, man, we think you're immoral for doing that. I think you're a terrible person if you do that. So, and my whole life, Republicans have been saying that Democrats are immoral, and Democrats never say it back. But it's not just political tit for tat. I actually think they're immoral. I think you're a bad human being if you say someone else should have less rights and should be hated, and their choices should be called a sin because of my ideological beliefs and religious beliefs, and so I want you to discriminate against them. I think that's you're deeply immoral. So can you have contact with someone that immoral and have a healthy relationship? I don't know.
I guess it's different for every person, because immediately I'd be like, yes, I can cut that person off. 100%, real fast.
But yeah, but can you do it when it's a family member or close friend?
Yes.
All right, well, JR's got an easy answer. I don't know, Caroline, one last time. Is it easy for you or hard for you?
No, it's definitely not easy. I think also the question, like for me, this raises a question too of like, well, if you as a parent are not like adequately teaching your child about those values that you hold so dear, then you are not doing your job. Like there's a lot of young people who want to engage in discussions with their parents and family members about very difficult things, but there's this like, it sounds very much like in this story, this young woman's father like has no interest in walking through these different debates and morals and values with her. And like in that case, that's not just that, in addition to the like this father or whoever is opposed to certain people having rights, that also means that they don't care enough about you to like share their perspective and really go deep. And if that's the case, then yeah, I could definitely see cutting someone off.
Yeah, super last thing. I think that it also depends on if it's friends or family. Friends, you could put in a certain bucket. Like, I think that guy's a knucklehead. He thinks I'm a knucklehead, but we're gonna go play golf or something. I don't know. I can see that. We're gonna go to a movie. We're gonna watch a football game. I can see that, right? With parents, it's so personal. So it's both harder to cut them off and harder to accept at the same time.
Yeah.
So that's why it's such a hard question.
Agreed.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat, emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.